Food is always readily accessible. Every week, your mother or father goes to the grocery store and gets everything you need for the week ahead. Maybe you feel your stomach growl in the car and decide to stop at a fast food restaurant or gas station for a snack. Given that we live in a developed country, food is often readily available. But just how long can the Earth sustain the ever-growing human population? Earth's carrying capacity is debated widely among scientists, but it is certain that Earth will not be able to forever sustain the human population. American ecologist Garrett Hardin developed a model called the tragedy of the commons. In the idea, a farmer has a field of grazing animals, let's say 10 cows. That field has a perfect amount of space and resources to infinitely sustain the 10 cows, but the farmer decides to add 5 more cows to his herd to increase personal gain. However, because there are now 15 cows, the field is not suited to infinitely sustain the herd. There is not enough food or space for the animals, so the field suffers overconsumption and is not able to be in use at all. This idea displays the conflicting link between individual and collective benefit. In relation to the Earth, humans constantly overconsume and overuse resources. Overconsumption has led to an obesity epidemic, and overuse of resources will lead to depletion of non-renewable resources. Earth cannot properly sustain the human population, especially when resources are not conscientiously used. When discussing agrarian techniques, there have been a variety of ideas implemented to increase production in a cost-appropriate manner. Organic farming is the most sustainable method of agricultural production and has immense positives. However, crop yields tend to be unpredictable. Genetically modified organisms has widely come into play in the agricultural world. GMOs are organisms that have been altered to be able to sustain different conditions. For example, an antifreeze gene from Arctic flounder has been introduced to strawberry plants in order to lengthen their growing season in colder climates. Corn has also been genetically modified with the ability to naturally produce an insecticide that was previously topically used. This is called BT corn. Other crops such as apples, potatoes, papaya, summer squash, and rice have been genetically modified. The cons to the genetic engineering of crops heavily outweigh the pros. For starters, GMOs can be dangerous to human health. When tested on animals, effects such as premature delivery of offspring, infertility, and death were observed. The most major negative effect of GMOs is the drastic decrease in biodiversity. If a field of genetically modified crops is faced with a disease, it is most likely that none of the crops will survive, while in an organic field there will be survivors. Such survivors can be naturally bred with other plants of the same species and become resistant. As previously stated, the human population is growing rapidly. The United Nations population forecast predicts that the human population will reach 9.5 billion in 2050, 10.4 billion in 21,000, 10.8 billion in 2150, and will eventually remain at a bit under 11 billion in 22,000. A concept known as the Malthusian catastrophe is when the rate of population growth exceeds the rate of agricultural production. The theory was invented by Thomas Malthus and has been widely criticized, but simply presents a realistic issue that will eventually occur. Agricultural production today would have to increase by 60 to 100% in order to sustain those hungry today, as well as the 2 billion people increase in population by 2050. The fight for food is ongoing, but there are many factors that diminish the chances for successful sustenance of food demands with proper agricultural production quality and quantity. There are many pests and diseases that threaten crop yields. Land is constantly lost to developmental purposes rather than agrarian purposes. There isn't enough research on agricultural production solutions, and climate change has affected global rainfall percentages, soil productivity, and overall ecological efficiency. In order to increase food availability, be sure to make an effort to buy organically, locally grown foods and reduce your food waste. Remember to think before you eat.